Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. It's time to go over my top 10 college football games this week. It's rivalry weekend for some teams. It's the final weekend of the regular season, sadly. We'll see which teams have earned a berth to the conference championship games and which teams will make a strong final pitch for the playoff selection committee. So let's get started with the number one game with Ohio State, number one Ohio State versus 15 Michigan. Ohio State 9.5 point favorites. Unlike last year, this rivalry game has huge stakes. For Ohio State, they want to be in the Big Ten title game and remain, the number one team. For Michigan, if they can beat Ohio State for the fifth season in a row, then the committee has to have serious discussions of Michigan sneaking into the playoffs as an at-large if they don't make it to the conference championship game. So going from 15 all the way to at least 10, that has to be under consideration. I think since both defenses are good, we'll see another defensive battle like we did last year. I think it comes down to the wire. Typically, when a team is dominated in a rivalry, I like to just roll, with that team that's dominating. But in this case, I'll choose the Buckeyes to finally break the streak. I had them winning 20-16. Number two, you got 6 Oregon, who are 6.5 point favorites versus Washington. For Oregon, it's simple. They win, they're in the playoffs. There also would be in the Big Ten title game if Ohio State loses this weekend. And there are some Oregon fans who think their playoff spot is secure whether they win or lose this game, especially with the way committee moved them up a spot in last night's rankings because they love them so much. However, that's wishful thinking. Oregon only has one ranked win, and that was just what happened last week with USC. Oregon doesn't have the strongest schedule and metrics, so the Ducks must win this game. For the Washington Huskies, they would love nothing more than to knock off their rivals and potentially make them go out of the postseason picture. Seattle is a tough place to play, and even though Oregon's playing better football right now, I'll admit that, I think Washington finds a way to get the upset to make things interesting for the committee on Selection Sunday. I have Washington winning 24-23. Number 3, you got 12 Miami, who are 6.5 point favorites, versus Pittsburgh. This game has conference title implications. If SMU or Virginia loses and Pittsburgh wins, then they're going to be in the ACC title game. For Miami, they still can potentially sneak into the playoffs as an at-large. We saw that the committee prefers Notre Dame to Miami, even though Miami beat them head-to-head. We saw what Notre Dame did to Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago. So it puts all the pressure on Miami to do the same thing Notre Dame did to them a couple weeks ago. Over the years, the Hurricanes have found ways to choke at the end of the season. So I think this will be another spot where that happens. So therefore, that Miami-Notre Dame head-to-head result becomes irrelevant. And I have the Panthers winning the shootout 34-31. Number 4, you got 3 Texas A&M versus 16 Texas. I have gone back and forth of who I think is going to win this game. I mean, luckily for the Aggies, even if they lose this game and don't make it to the SEC title game, they'll still be in the playoffs and probably get a first-round home game against an easy opponent, so nothing to complain about there. It's been impressive that the Aggies have been undefeated so far this year. I do think, going to Austin, I think Texas A&M finally will slip up for once. And even though this win for the Longhorns won't get them back into the playoff mix, in my opinion, at least they would have beaten both of their top rivals this year, who are both playoff caliber teams. So that's at least something, if you're a Longhorns fan, to be proud of. I have Texas winning 24-20. Number 5, you got 14 Vanderbilt versus 19 Tennessee, who are 3.5 point favorites. It would be interesting to see if Vanderbilt gets a road win against a ranked team, if that would finally bump them up for the committee to be an at-large consideration. So they have to jump at least 4 spots for that. If I had to guess, I assume it won't be enough no matter what they do. I feel they're probably at their ceiling at this point, even if they do get the upset. And it's not, because the problem with Vanderbilt is that Tennessee would be the only ranked win that Vanderbilt would have, and with a 4th loss, they would probably even drop out of the top 25, so it may not even be a ranked win when it's all said and done. I still think Vanderbilt will play hard, so Tennessee will need to show up on senior day and avoid losing its 3rd home game this season. I think it'll be a fun game that comes down to the wire, but I think the Volunteers will find a way to continue their dominance in the state rivalry and have them winning 33-27. Number 6, you got 25 Arizona, who are 1.5-point favorites, versus 20 Arizona State. This is a low-key interesting rivalry game with the Territorial Cup. The last time both teams were ranked in this rivalry game was all the way back in 2014, so it's been a while. If for some reason BYU or Texas Tech were to slip up this week and the Arizona State wins their game, then the Sun Devils, despite with a backup quarterback, will be back in the Big 12 title game. So a lot to play for, which is crazy to think about. I think this will be a close game that comes down to the wire. Both defenses are really good, so this will come down to which offense will make the clutch plays to win the game. I trust Arizona quarterback Noah Fafita more than I do Arizona State backup quarterback Jeff Sims. So therefore, I'm going to have the Wildcats get the upset and finish the regular season on a 5-game winning streak, either winning 23-21. Number 7, we got a bunch of ranked versus ranked teams, and we got another one here. We got number 4 Georgia, who are 13.5-point favorites, versus 23 Georgia Tech. With the Yellow Jackets losing this past week, this game kind of loses a little bit of juice since it does not have any playoff implications. However, it's still a rivalry game. Anything can happen. And the last time these two teams played last year, it was a close battle with the game going to 7 overtimes. I think the difference in this year's matchup is that Georgia Tech's defense is just awful, put it simply. I think Georgia Tech may have to play catch-up in this game. And against Georgia, that's not going to work. So I have the Bulldogs getting a good road win, 41-30. Number 8, you've got 10 Alabama, who are 6.5-point favorites, versus Auburn. A lot of at-large teams are rooting for an upset in the Iron Bowl. Alabama has no margin for error, not just for its playoff hopes, but also for the SEC title game hopes, because if they win this game, then they're going to be in the SEC title game. Auburn is trying with an interim head coach to make a bowl game to extend their season. I believe Auburn has the defense to contain Alabama to a degree. So the big question is, can Auburn's offense do something against a good Alabama defense? That'll be the big question mark. I think this would be a close game where Auburn will have its chances to get the win in this game, but Alabama makes the clutch plays late to get the win, either winning 24-20. Number 9, you got 7 Ole Miss, who are 7.5-point favorites, versus Mississippi State. And if Ole Miss loses this game, it'll be hard for it to make it into the playoff season at large, especially with Lane Kiffin drama going on. They just need to win the Egg Bowl, secure a home playoff game in the first round. With all the drama of off the field on what's going on with Lane Kiffin, where is he staying, is he going, it brings even more drama into this rivalry game. And Mississippi State, they're trying to make a bowl game themselves. They're going to play hard. I think this could be a high-scoring affair. However, I don't trust the Bulldogs' defense at all. So as long as Ole Miss on offense just doesn't shoot itself in the foot too many times, I think Ole Miss finds a way to get the win, either winning 38-31. And then number 10, you got LSU versus 8 Oklahoma, who are 10.5-point favorites. The Sooners are 1 win away from punching their ticket to the playoffs. LSU's defense is legit, so Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer is going to have to avoid having turnovers. LSU's been playing with backup quarterback Michael Van Buren Jr. For the last couple of games. The offense has been bad with him. So I very much doubt that the Tigers should do anything offensively against Oklahoma's defense, which is the best in the SEC, arguably. Which is why the turnover battle in this game is going to be huge. This game shouldn't be close, but I do think for some reason it will be. But the Sooners will once again make enough plays to win the game and punch their tickets to the playoffs, and potentially have a home first-round playoff game. I have them winning 16-19. So a couple of interesting notes going into this final weekend. For starters, 9 of the top 10 teams this week are all on the road. So that makes this week very interesting. Another interesting nugget is that, as I revealed in my predictions, I only have one top 10 team projected to go down this week, and I'm not even too confident on that one. So it'll be very interesting to see, especially for all those at-large playoff teams, especially the ones right now on the outside looking, trying to get in. It'll be interesting to see if it's a good week for upsets, and therefore there's going to be a lot of interesting things that come out decide, or if chalk is going to prevail in the end. Hopefully that's not the case, but we'll see. Well, thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please go and check out about me. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend and a wonderful last regular season of college football. Thank you.